The moment Sienna Vale kissed a stranger to humiliate her ex-husband, she destroyed her billion-dollar reputation in front of 300 witnesses. But that stranger, a single father clinging to survival, refused to play along. What should have been a simple performance became the most honest moment of her life. In a ballroom designed for lies, one broken CEO and one exhausted father collided in the worst possible way. And somehow, that collision became the only real thing either of them had felt in years. Stay with me until the end of this story, hit that like button, and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this journey goes. The Riverport Grand Hotel ballroom shimmered like something from a magazine spread nobody actually lived in. Crystal chandeliers hung overhead like frozen waterfalls, throwing fractured light across marble floors polished to mirror shine. The kind of place where people came to be seen, not to feel anything real. Ethan Cole stood near the back wall, tugging at his collar for the third time in 10 minutes. The suit didn't fit right. He'd bought it off the rack 2 years ago for a funeral and hadn't worn it since. The shoulders pulled when he moved. The pants were half an inch too short. He looked exactly like what he was, someone who didn't belong here, trying desperately not to get noticed. Around him, Riverport's wealthiest moved through the crowd like they owned the air itself. Women in gowns that cost more than his annual rent laughed at jokes that weren't funny. Men in custom tuxedos talked about quarterly projections and vacation homes in the Hamptons. Everyone held champagne glasses they barely sipped from, accessories more than drinks. Ethan clutched his glass like a lifeline and tried to look interested in a conversation about real estate portfolios happening 3 feet to his left. He didn't care about any of this. He was here because his supervisor had made it very clear, be at the gala, make connections, show your face. Translation: if you want that promotion, you better play the game. And Ethan needed that promotion, desperately. 7 years of raising his daughter alone on an assistant manager's salary had taught him exactly how many dollars stood between stability and disaster. One missed paycheck, one unexpected medical bill, one busted transmission. That's all it took. The promotion would change everything. Better insurance, actual savings, maybe even enough left over to fix the kitchen cabinet that had been hanging sideways for 8 months. So he stood there in his too-tight suit, pretending to care about champagne and small talk, counting down the minutes until he could leave without looking disrespectful. That's when he saw her. Sienna Vale, CEO of Valetech Industries. 30 years old. Forbes. 30 under 30. The youngest woman to ever run a billion-dollar tech company. She stood near the center of the ballroom, surrounded by a shifting constellation of executives, investors, and people desperate to be close to power. She wore a black gown that probably cost more than Ethan's car. Her dark hair was pulled back in a way that looked effortless, but definitely wasn't. Diamonds at her throat, heels sharp enough to draw blood. She looked perfect, untouchable, completely, utterly miserable. Ethan saw it in the way her smile never reached her eyes. The way her hand gripped her champagne glass just a little too tight. The way she laughed at something a board member said, a laugh that sounded like glass breaking. Nobody else seemed to notice. They saw the CEO, the success story, the woman who'd built an empire before most people finished grad school. Ethan saw someone drowning in front of 300 people who refused to acknowledge the water. He didn't know why he kept watching, maybe because he recognized that look. He'd worn it himself plenty of times, smiling through exhaustion, pretending everything was fine when it absolutely wasn't, holding yourself together in public because falling apart wasn't an option. Then a man approached Sienna, tall, mid-30s, expensive suit that actually fit, the kind of confidence that came from never being told no. Ethan didn't know who he was, but he watched Sienna's entire body go rigid the moment she saw him. The man said something. Sienna's smile froze. Then a woman appeared at the man's side, younger, early 20s, engagement ring the size of a marble catching the light as she looped her arm through his. Ethan watched the color drain from Sienna's face. He still didn't understand what was happening, but he knew he was watching something break in real time. Wolves. Marcus Hale had always been good at timing. He waited until the room was watching, not obviously, but enough. Waited until Sienna was surrounded by board members and investors who'd flown in from Singapore. Waited until the moment would cause maximum impact. Then he walked up to his ex-wife with his new fiancée on his arm and smiled like he'd just won something. "Sienna," he said, voice warm enough to sound friendly, cold enough to cut. You look well. She didn't respond immediately, just stared at the diamond on Jenna's finger, the ring that was twice the size of the one he'd given Sienna, the ring that made a very clear statement about which relationship mattered more. Marcus. Her voice came out steady, professional, completely empty. I didn't realize you'd be here. Last-minute invitation. He smiled wider. Jenna's father sits on the hospital board. They were kind enough to include us. Translation: I have access to rooms you thought you'd escaped. Jenna leaned into Marcus's shoulder, playing her role perfectly. Young, adoring, everything Sienna had apparently failed to be. Congratulations on the engagement, Sienna said. Each word sounded like it cost her something. Thank you. Marcus's hand found Jenna's waist, a possessive gesture designed to be noticed. We're very happy. The subtext was so loud it was practically screaming. I'm happy now. With her. The problem was always you. Sienna's champagne glass trembled, just barely. Nobody else noticed. But Ethan did. He watched from 20 feet away as Sienna's carefully constructed mask started to crack, watched her smile turn brittle, watched her breathing go shallow. She was about to break, right here, right now, in front of everyone. Up to seats. We should get together sometime, Marcus said, still smiling that terrible smile. Catch up properly. I'm very busy. I'm sure you are. He paused, just long enough to make it hurt. Running a company must be exhausting. The implication hung in the air between them. That's why you failed as a wife. Jenna giggled at something, pressing closer to Marcus, her ring catching the light again. Sienna's hand tightened on her glass. Ethan saw the exact moment she made a decision. Something desperate, something reckless, something that would stop the bleeding even if it made everything worse. Her eyes scanned the room and landed directly on him. "Get." Ethan froze. She was looking right at him. No, she was walking toward him, crossing the ballroom in 4-inch heels like she owned the marble beneath her feet, leaving Marcus and Jenna and the entire watching crowd behind, heading straight for the man in the too tight suit standing by the back wall. Hi. She stopped inches away, close enough that he could smell her perfume, something expensive and sharp. I need you to do me a favor. Ethan blinked. I'm sorry? Kiss me. The words came out flat, desperate. Not a request, a command wrapped in emergency. Ethan stared at her. I don't... right now, in front of everyone. Her voice cracked slightly. Please. She wasn't asking. She was begging. Ethan glanced past her shoulder and saw Marcus watching them with growing interest, saw Jenna whisper something to the woman beside her, saw a dozen other faces turning their direction, sensing drama the way sharks sense blood. Please, Sienna said again. Her eyes were desperate, completely, utterly desperate. And Ethan realized exactly what she was asking him to do. She wanted a performance, a show, something to make her ex-husband jealous, to prove she'd moved on, to salvage whatever dignity she thought she had left. She wanted him to kiss her in front of 300 people and pretend it meant something. The smart move was obvious. Say yes. Play along. This was Sienna Vale, the woman who could make or break careers with a single phone call. Helping her would mean connections, opportunities, maybe even a faster path to that promotion he desperately needed. Everyone else in this room would have already said yes. No, Ethan said quietly. Sienna blinked. What? I'm not going to kiss you. For a moment, she just stared at him, like she couldn't process the words, like nobody had ever told her no before. Why not? The question came out sharp, confused. Because you don't want me to kiss you. Ethan kept his voice low, aware of how many people were watching now. You want me to perform, and I'm not going to help you fake something that'll just make you feel worse tomorrow. You don't know what I know you're about to cry. He said it gently. And I know if you break down here in front of all these people, you'll regret it for years. Sienna's breath caught. Her eyes went wide. Come on. Ethan set his champagne glass on a passing server's tray. Let's get out of here before that happens. Check. He didn't wait for her to argue, just turned and walked toward the exit, trusting, hoping she'd follow. She did. Fell into step beside him, her heels clicking against marble, her breathing uneven. They passed Marcus, past Jenna, past a dozen staring faces and twice as many whispered conversations that would absolutely become rumors by morning. Ethan didn't look back. He pushed through the ballroom doors into the hotel corridor, then kept walking until they reached a side exit that opened onto a maintenance courtyard. Concrete, dumpsters, the smell of kitchen grease and cigarette smoke. The least glamorous place in the entire hotel. Sienna stopped in the middle of the courtyard and just stood there, breathing hard, trying not to fall apart. Ethan stayed quiet. He didn't know what to say, didn't know if saying anything would help, so he just waited. And then she broke. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just a sharp inhale that turned into a sob, then another. Then her hand covering her mouth like she could physically stop the sound from escaping. "I'm sorry," she managed. "I'm sorry. I don't usually—" "You don't have to apologize. I just—" Another sob cut her off. He brought her to this event, knowing I'd be here, knowing everyone would see. Ethan said nothing, and I just wanted him to think I was fine, that I'd moved on, that I didn't care anymore. Her voice cracked. I wanted to hurt him the way he hurt me. "I know. So why didn't you just—" She looked at him, tears streaming down her face, makeup starting to run. "Why didn't you help me?" "Because it wouldn't have worked," Ethan said simply. "You can't fake being over someone. People see through it." Sienna laughed. It sounded bitter, broken. "Everyone's been telling me I'm fine, that I'm handling this well, that I should be proud of how professional I've been." She wiped her eyes, smearing mascara across her knuckles. "But I'm not fine. I'm not handling anything. I'm just pretending. All the time. And I'm so tired of pretending." Ethan pulled a crumpled napkin from his jacket pocket, something he'd grabbed earlier for his daughter's science project materials, and handed it to her. Sienna took it, stared at it like she'd never seen a napkin before, then pressed it against her eyes and cried harder. They stood there for maybe 5 minutes. Ethan didn't try to comfort her, didn't offer meaningless reassurances. Just stood there while she fell apart in a hotel maintenance courtyard, giving her the only thing she actually needed, permission to stop performing. Eventually, her breathing steadied. She lowered the napkin, now completely destroyed by mascara and tears. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You don't have to thank me." "I do." She looked at him properly for the first time. "You could have taken advantage of that situation. Most people would have. I'm not most people, clearly." Something that might have been a smile crossed her face. "What's your name?" "Ethan. Ethan Cole. I know who you are." Of course he did. Everyone knew who Sienna Vale was. She laughed again, softer this time. "Right. They stood in silence for another moment. Then Sienna's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and Ethan watched her mask start to rebuild itself, piece by piece, layer by layer, the CEO reassembling over the broken woman underneath. "I should go," she said, "before someone realizes I left." Ethan nodded. She took 2 steps toward the door, then stopped, turned back. "What you said about me crying—" Her voice was quiet. "How did you know?" Ethan shrugged. "I've got a 7-year-old daughter. I've gotten pretty good at recognizing when someone's about to lose it." Sienna studied him, really looked at him, and something shifted in her expression, something Ethan couldn't quite read. "A daughter," she repeated. "Yeah." "And you came to this gala alone?" "Yeah." She tilted her head slightly. "You didn't want to be here, did you?" "Not even a little bit." Another almost smile. "Then why come? Trying to get promoted?" The honesty surprised him, but it felt right. Single parent on an assistant manager's salary. You do what you have to. Sienna was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "What if I could help with that?" Ethan froze. "What?" "The promotion. What if I made a call, put in a good word?" She said it carefully, like she was testing the words. "Considerate payment for tonight." And just like that, the offer was on the table. The exact thing Ethan needed. The exact reason he'd come to this gala in the first place. One phone call from Sienna Vale could change everything. Could guarantee the promotion. Could mean financial stability for him and his daughter. Could mean fixing the broken cabinet. replacing the dying transmission, not lying awake at 3 in the morning doing math about grocery budgets. All he had to do was say yes. "No," Ethan said. Sienna blinked. "What?" "I appreciate the offer, but no." "Why not?" "Because if I get promoted because of you, I'll never know if I actually earned it." He met her eyes. "And I'd rather keep struggling than spend the rest of my career wondering." For the second time that night, Sienna looked at him like he'd spoken a foreign language. "You're serious?" "Yeah." She shook her head slowly. "You're either the most honest person I've ever met or the most stubborn." "Probably both." This time her smile reached her eyes, just barely, but it was real. "Good night, Ethan Cole." "Good night, Ms. Vale." She walked back inside. Ethan stayed in the courtyard for another minute, letting his heart rate return to normal, trying to process what had just happened. Then he went back to the ballroom, collected his coat, and left before anyone could corner him with questions. He didn't know it yet, but refusing Sienna Vale twice had just changed the entire trajectory of his life. The next morning started the way every morning started. Ethan's alarm went off at 6:15. He hit snooze once, his daily compromise between exhaustion and responsibility, then dragged himself out of bed before he could hit it again. His apartment was small. Not cozy small, not charming small, just small. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen barely large enough for one person to stand in comfortably. The kind of place that showed up in rental listings as affordable and convenient location, which translated to old building, thin walls, and close enough to the bus line that you could hear traffic at night. But it was home. Ethan started coffee, then knocked on his daughter's door. "Lily, time to wake up." A groan answered him. He smiled and knocked again. "Come on, kiddo. School day, set. 5 more minutes." "You said that yesterday. Ended up brushing your teeth in the car." Another groan, followed by the sound of blankets being kicked aside. Victory. Ethan headed to the kitchen and started breakfast. Toast, eggs, the same thing he made every morning because it was cheap, fast, and Lily would actually eat it. His phone buzzed. Text from his supervisor. "Good work last night. Board members noticed you." Ethan stared at the message. He'd been at that gala for maybe 90 minutes total. Spent most of that time standing by the wall trying not to be noticed. Left early with Sienna Vale, which definitely got noticed, but probably not in a good way. What exactly had the board members seen? He didn't have time to think about it. Lily appeared in the kitchen doorway, still in pajamas, hair sticking up in 4 different directions. "Morning, Dad." "Morning, Lil. Go get dressed." "Can I wear the space shirt?" "It's in the laundry." "The dinosaur shirt?" "Also laundry." She sighed dramatically. "You're the worst at laundry." "I know. Pick something clean." She shuffled back toward her room, muttering about how unfair laundry schedules were. Ethan flipped the eggs and tried not to burn the toast. This was his life. Small apartment, burnt breakfast, laundry that never quite got done on time, a daughter who loved dinosaurs and space equally and couldn't understand why she had to choose one shirt over the other. It wasn't glamorous, but it was theirs, and he wouldn't trade it for anything. But Lily reappeared wearing a shirt with a T-Rex riding a skateboard. "Good choice," Ethan said. "It's clean and awesome. Can't argue with that logic." They ate breakfast together at the tiny kitchen table that wobbled slightly, no matter how many times Ethan tried to fix it. Lily talked nonstop about the science fair coming up in 3 weeks, explaining in elaborate detail why her volcano project was going to be the best one in the entire 4th grade. "And I'm going to use baking soda and vinegar, but also red food coloring so it looks like real lava, and maybe some dish soap to make it foamy, and..." "Breathe, Lil." She took a breath. "Are you going to help me build it?" "Of course." "Promise?" "Promise." She grinned and went back to her eggs. Ethan's phone buzzed again. Another text, this time from a number he didn't recognize. "This is Sienna Vale. I wanted to thank you again for last night. If you're free this afternoon, I'd like to properly express my gratitude." "Coffee?" Ethan stared at the message. Read it twice. Then a third time, just to make sure he wasn't hallucinating. Sienna Vale was asking him to coffee. The CEO of Valetech Industries. The woman he'd turned down twice in one night. "Dad? You okay?" Ethan looked up. Lily was watching him with concern. Yeah, I'm fine. You look weird. Just got a weird text. From who? How did you explain this to a 7-year-old? Oh, just the most powerful businesswoman in the city wanting to grab coffee. No big deal. Work stuff, Ethan said instead. Nothing important. Lily shrugged and went back to her breakfast. Ethan looked at the message again. He should say no. Getting involved with Sienna Vale, even just for coffee, was a bad idea. She was his CEO, technically. She was famous. She was going through a messy public divorce, and he was a single dad barely holding his life together with duct tape and determination. Nothing good could come from this. His thumbs moved across the screen before his brain could stop them. Coffee sounds good, but I have to pick up my daughter from school at 3:30. Anything before then works. He hit send before he could reconsider. 3 dots appeared immediately. How about 2 p.m.? There's a cafe near Valetech headquarters. Neutral ground. Ethan typed back, see you there. He set his phone down and immediately wondered what he'd just agreed to. Dad? Lily was watching him again. You look weird again. I'm fine. You said that already. Well, I'm still fine. She didn't look convinced, but she was 7, so she got distracted by the science fair again and started explaining, for the 4th time that week, why dual-vent volcanoes were superior to single-vent designs. Ethan listened, nodded in the right places, and tried not to think about the fact that in 6 hours he was having coffee with Sienna Vale. The cafe was exactly the kind of place Ethan expected. Minimalist design, expensive espresso machines, chairs that looked like art installations. The kind of menu where a regular coffee cost $7 and came with a lecture about single-origin beans. Sienna was already there when he arrived. She'd claimed a corner table, far from the windows, wearing sunglasses despite being indoors. Trying to be inconspicuous, which was impossible when you were Sienna Vale, but Ethan appreciated the effort. He slid into the seat across from her. Hi. She lowered her sunglasses slightly. You came. You sounded pretty insistent. I was. She flagged down a server. What do you want? Just regular coffee, black. The server looked personally offended. We have a Colombian pour-over that... Black coffee is fine, Ethan said. Sienna ordered something complicated that Ethan immediately forgot the name of. The server left. Awkward silence settled over the table. Sienna took off her sunglasses completely, and Ethan noticed the faint shadows under her eyes, evidence that last night's breakdown had continued after she'd left the courtyard. You look tired, he said before he could stop himself. Wow. Really know how to charm a woman. Sorry, I just meant, I know what you meant. She smiled slightly. And you're right, I didn't sleep much. Because of last night? Because of everything. She looked down at her hands. The divorce, the company, Marcus showing up with his brand new fiancée just to twist the knife. All of it. Their drinks arrived. Ethan's coffee was actually decent. Sienna's, whatever it was, looked like something from a chemistry experiment. She took a sip and seemed to relax slightly. I wanted to apologize, she said finally, for putting you in that position last night, asking you to kiss me in front of everyone. That was inappropriate. You were hurting. That's not an excuse. Maybe not, but it's a reason. She studied him. You're very understanding. I've had my share of bad nights. I know what desperation looks like. Sienna was quiet for a moment. Then, you mentioned a daughter. Lily. She's 7. What happened to her mother, if you don't mind me asking? Ethan had answered this question 100 times. It never got easier. She left when Lily was 6 months old, said motherhood wasn't what she expected, signed away custody and moved to California. Haven't heard from her since. I'm sorry. Don't be. Lily's better off without someone who didn't want to be there. Still, Sienna took another sip of her drink. That must have been hard, raising a child alone. Some days are harder than others, but you manage. I don't really have a choice. Sienna looked at him like she was trying to solve an equation. You could have made different choices last night, easier choices. Yeah, but you didn't. No. Why? Ethan considered the question. Because taking the easy way usually costs more in the long run. And I'm trying to teach my daughter that integrity matters. Can't really do that if I don't live it myself. Something shifted in Sienna's expression. I wish more people thought like that. You'd be surprised. Most people do. They just get scared into compromising. And you don't? Oh, I get scared constantly. Ethan laughed. I just try not to let it make my decisions for me. Sienna smiled. A real smile this time. Not the CEO smile. Not the public performance smile, just real. I like you, Ethan Cole. Thanks? That wasn't a question. I'm stating a fact. She leaned forward slightly, which is why I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to actually consider it before saying no. Ethan's stomach tightened. Okay. Tomorrow afternoon, Lily has her volcano project, right? He blinked. How did you mentioned the science fair at breakfast. I pay attention. She waved off his surprise. I want to help. Help with what? The volcano. I want to come over and help you build it. Ethan stared at her. You want to help build a fourth-grade science project? Yes. Why? Because she hesitated, like she was trying to find the right words. Because last night, in that courtyard, you gave me something I haven't had in months. A moment where I didn't have to pretend, where I could just be a person, not a CEO or a divorcee or a public spectacle. And I want more of that. So you want to build a volcano. I want to do something normal. Her voice was quiet but firm. Something that has nothing to do with board meetings or media coverage or proving anything to anyone. I want to help a kid make a science project and not think about my life falling apart for a few hours. Ethan understood that, more than she probably realized. It's a small apartment, he warned, and Lily's going to ask you 1,000 questions, and the volcano's going to be messy. I can handle messy. And you have to actually help. No, just watching. I wouldn't dream of it. Ethan took a breath. This was a bad idea. Everything about this screamed bad idea. But he looked at Sienna, really looked at her, and saw the same desperation he'd seen last night. Different flavor, same core. She needed this. Okay, he said. Tomorrow, 4 o'clock. I'll text you the address. Sienna's entire face brightened. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You haven't met Lily. Is she difficult? No, she's enthusiastic, which is somehow more exhausting. Sienna laughed, a real laugh. And Ethan realized he'd just invited the CEO of Vailtech Industries into his cramped apartment to help build a science fair volcano. His life had officially gotten very, very strange. Ethan spent the entire next morning second-guessing himself. What had he been thinking? Inviting Sienna Vale to his apartment was insane. The woman lived in a penthouse overlooking the river. She probably had a personal assistant to tie her shoes. And he was bringing her to a place where the refrigerator hummed too loud and the bathroom door stuck unless you lifted while pulling. He cleaned anyway. Not deep cleaning, he didn't have time for that, but enough to make the place presentable. Dishes washed, laundry shoved into closets, Lily's art projects organized into something resembling order, instead of the explosion of glitter and construction paper that usually covered the coffee table. Why are you cleaning so much? Lily asked, watching him from the couch. We're having a guest. Who? A friend from work. You don't have friends from work, Ethan paused mid-wipe of the kitchen counter. That's not true. Name one. He couldn't. Lily grinned, victorious. See? Just go work on your volcano notes, okay? The guest is going to help us build it. Really? Lily perked up immediately. Who is it? Her name's Sienna. Is she nice? I think so. Is she smart? Very. Does she know about volcanoes? I have no idea. Lily considered this. Okay, she can help, but I'm in charge. Wouldn't dream of suggesting otherwise. Lily went back to her bedroom to prepare what she called her project materials, which Ethan knew from experience meant she was drawing diagrams that made sense only to her and labeling them with misspelled scientific terms. He checked his phone. 3:45. Sienna was supposed to arrive at 4. He had 15 minutes to stop panicking. It didn't work. At 3:58, someone knocked. Ethan opened the door. Sienna stood in the hallway wearing jeans and a simple sweater, the most casual he'd ever seen her. No makeup, hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked younger like this. Less CEO, more actual person. She held up a bag. I brought supplies. Wasn't sure what you already had. Ethan stepped aside to let her in. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to contribute. She walked into the apartment and stopped, taking in the space, the cramped living room, the kitchen visible through a half wall, the wobbly table, the couch that sagged in the middle. Ethan braced himself for judgment. Instead, Sienna smiled. This is nice. You're a terrible liar. I'm serious. It feels lived in. She set the bag on the counter. My place is all marble and glass. Looks like a museum. This actually feels like a home. Before Ethan could respond, Lily appeared from the hallway. She stopped dead when she saw Sienna, stared. Hi, Sienna said. You must be Lily. Lily didn't answer immediately, just kept staring. Ethan recognized that look. His daughter was running calculations, trying to figure out if this stranger was trustworthy. Finally, you're pretty. Sienna blinked. Thank you. Are you Dad's girlfriend? Lily? It's okay. Sienna crouched down to Lily's eye level. No, I'm not. Just a friend. Dad said he doesn't have friends from work. Lily. What? You said that. Sienna laughed. Well, maybe I'm his first one. Lily seemed to accept this. Dad says you're going to help with my volcano, if that's okay with you. Do you know about volcanoes? A little. I did a science fair project about them when I was your age. Lily's eyes went wide. Really? Really? Mine was terrible, though. It exploded too fast and got baking soda all over the gym floor. What did you do wrong? Used too much vinegar, didn't measure properly. You have to measure everything exactly, Lily said seriously. That's what makes it scientific. You're absolutely right. Just like that, Lily decided Sienna was acceptable. She grabbed Sienna's hand and pulled her toward the kitchen table, already talking a mile a minute about her project plans. Ethan watched the two of them and felt something strange twist in his chest. It had been a long time since anyone besides him had paid attention to Lily like this. No agenda, no obligation, just genuine interest. He'd forgotten what that looked like. The volcano construction turned out to be exactly as chaotic as Ethan had predicted. Lily had brought out her materials, cardboard boxes, newspaper, flour for paper mache, paint, baking soda, vinegar, food coloring, and approximately 7 different diagrams that contradicted each other. Okay, Lily announced, standing on a chair so she could reach the table properly. We're making a stratovolcano with dual vents. That means 2 eruption points instead of 1. Sienna nodded seriously. Ambitious. Ms. Peterson said ambitious projects get extra points. Smart strategy. They started building the frame from cardboard and masking tape. Lily directed the whole operation like a tiny general, telling Ethan where to cut and Sienna where to hold pieces together while the tape set. No, not like that, Lily said when Sienna tried to position a support beam. It has to be at an angle or the whole thing will collapse. You're right. Sorry. It's okay. You're new at this. Ethan caught Sienna's eye and grinned. She grinned back, completely unbothered by being corrected by a 7-year-old. An hour in, they had a basic frame. 2 hours in, they were covered in papier-mâché paste. This is disgusting, Sienna said, trying to wipe flour mixture off her hands. That's how you know it's working, Lily said cheerfully. Is it supposed to smell like this? Probably. Ethan handed Sienna a wet towel. Welcome to elementary school science projects. I'm beginning to understand why my parents outsourced mine to a tutor. You didn't build your own volcano? I supervised. She paused. From another room. Lily gasped. That's cheating. I know. I was a terrible student. Did you at least watch it erupt? I was at a piano lesson. Lily looked genuinely horrified. You missed your own volcano? I did. Which is why I'm not missing this one. Something about the way she said it made Ethan's chest tighten again. They kept working. Lily explained the science behind volcanic eruptions with the confidence of someone who'd watched approximately 40 YouTube videos on the subject. Sienna listened like it was the most important lecture she'd ever heard, asking questions that made Lily light up even more. So the magma rises because it's less dense than the surrounding rock, Lily said, gesturing with paste-covered hands. And when the pressure gets too high, boom, eruption. Oh yeah. What determines how explosive it is? Sienna asked. The viscosity of the magma and the gas content. If it's really thick and has lots of gas, it explodes harder. That makes sense. Most people don't know that. They just think all lava is the same. Well, most people aren't volcano experts like you. Lily beamed. Ethan watched them and felt something shift inside him. Something he couldn't quite name but felt dangerously close to hope. Around 6:30, Ethan realized none of them had eaten. Pizza? He suggested. Lily cheered. Sienna looked down at herself, covered in paste, hair falling out of her ponytail, flour smudged across her cheek. I look like I lost a fight with a craft store. You look like you built a volcano, Ethan said. There's a difference. She smiled. He ordered pizza. They took a break while waiting for delivery, and Lily showed Sienna her room, which meant showing Sienna every single rock, drawing, and dinosaur figurine she owned. Ethan cleaned up the worst of the papier-mâché disaster and listened to Lily's voice carrying from down the hall, explaining the difference between herbivores and carnivores to someone who was probably CEO of a company worth more than his entire neighborhood. The pizza arrived. They ate at the wobbly kitchen table, Lily still talking nonstop about volcanoes, space, dinosaurs, and why her teacher was wrong about Pluto not being a planet anymore. It's a dwarf planet, Lily insisted. That's still a planet. It's in the name. I agree, Sienna said. The demotion was unfair. Thank you. That's what I said. Ethan bit into his pizza and tried not to think about how right this felt, how natural, how easy it was to imagine Sienna sitting at this table every night, listening to Lily's theories about the universe, how dangerous that kind of thinking was. After dinner, they finished the volcano's base structure. It was nearly 9 by the time they called it quits, way past Lily's bedtime, but Ethan didn't have the heart to stop her. She was too excited, too proud of what they'd built. Okay, kiddo, he said finally. Bed, we'll paint tomorrow. But we're not done. The papier-mâché needs to dry anyway. We have time. Lily looked at the volcano, then at Sienna. Are you coming back tomorrow? Sienna glanced at Ethan. He should say no, should establish boundaries, should not let his daughter get attached to someone who'd probably disappear from their lives in a week. If that's okay with your dad, Sienna said carefully. Please, Dad? Oh, Ishe? Ethan looked at his daughter's hopeful face, then at Sienna's careful expression. Yeah, he heard himself say. She can come back. Lily hugged him, then, without warning, hugged Sienna too. Sienna froze for half a second, clearly not used to physical affection from children. Then her arms came up and she hugged back. Good night, Lily. Good night, Sienna. Lily ran off to brush her teeth. Sienna stood slowly, looking slightly stunned. Sorry, Ethan said. She's a hugger. Don't apologize. Sienna's voice was quiet. That was nice. They stood in awkward silence for a moment. Then Sienna started gathering her things, her purse, her jacket, the confidence she'd set aside somewhere around the second hour of papier-mâché. Thank you, she said, for letting me do this. You're the one who helped. I should be thanking you. I got more out of it than you realize. She headed for the door. Ethan followed. She paused in the doorway, looking back at the apartment, at the half-built volcano on the table, at the mess they'd made and hadn't fully cleaned up. I haven't felt this normal in years, she said quietly. Normal's overrated. Maybe, but I missed it. She left before Ethan could figure out how to respond to that. He closed the door and leaned against it, trying to process what had just happened. Sienna Vale had spent 4 hours in his apartment building a science project with his daughter, and she wanted to come back. His phone buzzed, text from Sienna. Thank you again. Same time tomorrow? Ethan typed back, yeah, same time. He set his phone down and went to check on Lily. She was already in bed, covers pulled up to her chin. I like her, Lily announced. I noticed. She's smart. and she listens when I talk. Those are good qualities. Is she going to keep coming over, or is she? Ethan sat on the edge of her bed. I don't know, Lil. But she said, I know what she said. But sometimes adults say things they don't follow through on. Lily frowned. That's dumb. Yeah, it is. Well, I think she'll come back. What makes you so sure? Because she was happy here. Lily said it like it was obvious, like really happy. I could tell. Ethan kissed her forehead. Get some sleep. Will you help me paint tomorrow? Of course. Promise? Promise. She smiled and closed her eyes. Ethan turned off her light and went back to the living room. The volcano sat on the table, half finished and covered in uneven paper mache. It looked terrible, but it also looked like something 3 people had built together, and that made it the best terrible thing Ethan had seen in a long time. He cleaned up the remaining mess, threw away pizza boxes, and tried not to think about the fact that he was already looking forward to tomorrow. Sienna came back the next day. And the day after that. And the day after that. What started as a one-time favor turned into a routine neither of them had planned. Every afternoon at 4 o'clock, Sienna showed up at Ethan's apartment. They painted the volcano, added details, tested the eruption mechanism approximately 30 times because Lily insisted on perfection. More red, Lily would say, staring critically at the lava paint. Real lava is bright red, not orange. Well, up it, pa. This is as red as we can get without it looking like ketchup, Ethan pointed out. Then get redder paint. Sienna laughed. She's right. We need redder paint. You're supposed to be on my side. I'm on the side of scientific accuracy. They went to 3 different craft stores before finding paint Lily deemed acceptable. Somewhere in the middle of all this, something shifted. Sienna stopped looking like a CEO visiting a charity case. She started looking like someone who belonged there. She learned where the cups were kept, started bringing coffee for Ethan without asking, knew which chair at the table wobbled and avoided it automatically. Small things, normal things, things that terrified Ethan because they meant she was becoming part of their life. One evening, while Lily was in her room working on her presentation notes, Sienna and Ethan sat at the kitchen table painting tiny rocks to scatter around the volcano base. Can I ask you something? Sienna said. Sure. Why'd you invite me here? Really? Ethan set down his paintbrush. You asked. You could have said no. So could you. That's not an answer. He considered the question. I guess I saw someone who needed something real, and I know what that's like. Needed something real, she repeated. Is that what this is? Isn't it? Sienna was quiet for a long moment. Then, my entire life is performance. Board meetings, media interviews, investor calls. Even my marriage was a performance. Everything choreographed. Everything designed to look good from the outside. And it made you miserable. Completely. She picked up a rock and started painting it with more focus than necessary. Then I came here and spent 3 hours arguing with a 7-year-old about the correct ratio of baking soda to vinegar. And I realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd done something just because I wanted to. Not because it was strategic. Not because it would benefit the company. Just because it made me happy. Ethan watched her paint. Does it? He asked quietly. Make you happy? She looked up, met his eyes. Yeah, she said, it really does. Something passed between them. Something neither of them was ready to name, but both of them felt. The moment stretched. Then Lily shouted from her bedroom, Dad, I need help spelling tectonic. The spell broke. Ethan stood. Duty calls. Sienna smiled. Go, I'll keep painting. He helped Lily with her spelling, and when he came back, Sienna had finished painting all the rocks and started organizing them by size. They worked in comfortable silence until Lily came out to inspect their progress. Good, she declared. The volcano looks professional now. High praise, Sienna said. Do you think we'll win? I think you're going to blow everyone away. Lily grinned and went back to her notes. Sienna and Ethan kept working. The easy rhythm of it felt dangerous. The comfort felt like a trap Ethan was walking into willingly, but he couldn't seem to stop. On Friday morning, Ethan got called into his supervisor's office. Martin Chen sat behind his desk looking uncomfortable. Never a good sign. Ethan, sit down. Ethan sat. I'm going to cut to the chase, Martin said. There's been talk. Talk about what? About you and Sienna Vale. Ethan's stomach dropped. We're friends. Friends? Martin said it like he didn't believe it. You've been seen leaving work with her, having coffee, and apparently she's been visiting your apartment. She's helping with my daughter's science project. That's what you're going with? It's the truth. Martin leaned back in his chair. Ethan, I like you. You're a good employee. But the optics here are terrible. What optics? We're building a volcano. The optics of an assistant manager suddenly getting cozy with the CEO right before promotion decisions are finalized. The implication hit Ethan like cold water. You think I'm sleeping with her for a promotion? I think that's what people are saying. People are wrong. Doesn't matter. Perception is reality in this business. Martin sighed. Look, I believe you. But the board doesn't know you like I do. They see patterns. Junior employee gets close to the CEO. Junior employee gets promoted. It looks bad. So what are you saying? I'm saying maybe create some distance, at least until after the promotion announcements. Ethan stared at him. You want me to stop being friends with her? I'm suggesting you be strategic about timing. That's the same thing. Ethan, is this a request or an order? Martin hesitated. A strong suggestion. Ethan stood. I appreciate the advice, but I'm not going to ghost someone because of office gossip. This isn't gossip. It's your career. Then maybe I don't want a career built on cutting people out of my life. He left before Martin could respond. Spent the rest of the day fielding looks from coworkers who'd clearly heard the same rumors. Whispers followed him through the break room. Someone made a joke about sleeping your way to the top that was just loud enough for Ethan to hear. He ignored all of it. But by the time 4 o'clock rolled around, he was exhausted. Sienna showed up at 4:15 with coffee and a bag of paintbrushes, took one look at his face and set everything down. What happened? Work stuff. Ethan's. He sighed. People are talking about us. They think I'm using you to get promoted. Sienna's expression went cold. Who said that? Does it matter? Yes. No, it doesn't. Because firing people won't fix the problem. It would make me feel better. Despite everything, Ethan almost smiled. I can handle gossip. You shouldn't have to. Comes with the territory. Sienna studied him. Do you want me to stop coming? The question hung between them. Ethan could say yes, could create the distance Martin had suggested, could protect his career and his reputation and all the things he'd worked years to build. No, he said. Ethan, I don't care what people think. I care about keeping promises, and I promised Lily we'd finish this volcano together. This could cost you the promotion. Maybe. That doesn't bother you? Of course it bothers me, but it bothers me more to imagine telling my daughter that I'm abandoning something good because I'm scared of what other people might say. Sienna looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time. You're either incredibly principled or incredibly stupid. Probably both. She picked up the coffee and handed it to him. Then we better make this volcano perfect. Might as well make the gossip worth it. Lily burst out of her room, completely oblivious to the tension. Sienna, I figured out how to make the eruption last longer. Yeah? Show me. And just like that, they were back to normal. Painting. Planning. Listening to Lily explain volcanic science with increasing confidence. But something had changed. Every time Sienna smiled at something Lily said, Ethan felt it. Every time their hands brushed reaching for the same paintbrush, he noticed. Every time she stayed just a little longer than necessary, he wondered what it meant. The volcano was nearly finished now, which meant this, whatever this was running out of time. The science fair was next Friday. After that, Sienna wouldn't have a reason to keep coming over. After that, they'd go back to being CEO and employee. After that, this bubble they'd built would pop, and reality would flood back in. Ethan tried not to think about it. focused on painting rocks and mixing eruption formulas and making sure Lily's presentation was perfect. But late at night, after Sienna left and Lily was asleep, he'd sit at the kitchen table and stare at the volcano and wonder what he was supposed to do when the one good thing in his life had an expiration date. On Wednesday, Sienna showed up with her laptop. "I have to take a call," she said apologetically. "Board meeting I couldn't reschedule. Is it okay if I do it from here?" Of course. She sat up at the kitchen table while Ethan and Lily worked on final touches to the volcano. Ethan tried not to listen to her side of the conversation. Tried and failed. "No, Richard, we're not pushing the timeline back." Her voice was sharp, professional. Nothing like the person who'd spent the last week painting tiny rocks. "If the development team can't deliver, we'll find a team that can." Silence. "I don't care if it's aggressive. The market won't wait for us to be comfortable." More silence. "Then fire him. I need people who can execute, not people who make excuses." She sounded cold, ruthless. Nothing like the woman who'd patiently explained to Lily why stratovolcanoes were different from shield volcanoes. The call ended. Sienna closed her laptop and rubbed her temples. "Sorry about that. Don't apologize. You're working." I'm always working." She looked at the volcano. "That's the problem." Lily, oblivious to the tension, held up the painted crater. "Does this look like real volcanic rock?" Sienna studied it seriously. "It looks perfect. Are you sure? Because Ms. Peterson is really strict about accuracy." "I'm positive. Ms. Peterson is going to be impressed." Lily beamed and went back to her painting. Sienna watched her with an expression Ethan couldn't quite read. "What?" he asked quietly. "Nothing, just she's lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have her." "You know what I mean." Ethan did. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Do you regret it? Building this company, spending all those years working instead of what? Having a family?" Sienna's laugh was bitter. "I had a family, a husband. It didn't matter. He left anyway." "That's not what I meant, isn't it?" "No, I meant, do you regret missing the small stuff? The science projects and bedtimes and all the messy normal things that don't fit into a quarterly report?" Sienna was quiet for a long time. Then, "I don't know. I never thought I had a choice." "Everyone has a choice." "Not everyone. Some of us build empires because that's what we're good at. That's what people expect." She looked at him. "And some of us build empires because we're scared of what happens if we stop." "What are you scared of?" "Being ordinary." She said it so quietly he almost didn't hear. "Being forgettable. Being someone who didn't matter. You matter to Lily. I've known her for a week." "It doesn't matter. You showed up. You listened. That's more than most people do." Sienna's eyes went bright. She looked away quickly, but Ethan saw it. "The volcano's almost done," she said, changing the subject. "What happens after the science fair?" There it was, the question neither of them had wanted to ask. "I don't know," Ethan said honestly. "Do you want me to stop coming?" "Do you want to stop coming?" "I asked first." "No," Ethan said. "I don't want you to stop coming." Sienna met his eyes. "Good, because I don't want to stop either." Something passed between them again. That same unspoken thing that had been building for days. But before either of them could say anything else, Lily announced, "Done! The volcano is officially complete." She held it up triumphantly. It looked incredible. 2 vents perfectly positioned, lava flows painted in shades of red and orange that actually looked realistic. Base decorated with painted rocks and tiny plastic trees Lily had insisted on adding for scale. "It's perfect, Lil," Ethan said. "We make a good team." Lily looked at both of them. "All 3 of us." Oh, Sienna smiled. But Ethan saw the sadness behind it, because they all knew the team had an expiration date. And that date was getting closer every day. The science fair was scheduled for Friday evening at 6 o'clock in the elementary school gymnasium. Ethan had Friday off. He'd requested it weeks ago, back when he thought he'd be setting up a volcano by himself and praying it didn't fall apart before the judges arrived. He hadn't planned on having help. Definitely hadn't planned on Sienna Vale spending Thursday night at his apartment doing a final run-through of Lily's presentation. "Okay, one more time," Sienna said, sitting cross-legged on the floor while Lily stood beside the volcano. Pretend I'm the judge. Lily took a breath and launched into her speech. This is a dual-vent stratovolcano model demonstrating the relationship between magma viscosity and eruption patterns. Stratovolcanoes are characterized by steep sides and explosive eruptions caused by high silica magma that traps gas until pressure becomes critical. She sounded like a tiny professor. Ethan felt pride swell in his chest. Excellent, yet, Sienna said. Now, show me the eruption mechanism. Lily carefully poured vinegar into the first vent. Red foam bubbled up and flowed down the side in a surprisingly realistic lava flow. Then she triggered the second vent, which produced a more explosive eruption that shot foam several inches into the air. See, the difference in vent diameter creates different eruption styles, Lily explained. The wider vent allows gas to escape gradually, while the narrower vent builds pressure until it explodes. Sienna applauded. Perfect. You're going to win this thing. You really think so? I know so. Lily grinned and started cleaning up the baking soda residue. Ethan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his stomach tightened. Email from Martin Chen. Subject line, promotion decisions, confidential. He opened it, read it twice, set his phone down carefully. Everything okay? Sienna asked. Yeah, just work stuff. She didn't believe him. He could see it in her eyes. But she didn't push. Lily finished cleaning and announced she was going to practice her speech one more time in her room. She disappeared down the hall, leaving Ethan and Sienna alone with the volcano sitting between them. You got the promotion, Sienna said quietly. Ethan looked up. How did you? I didn't, but I know that look. She tilted her head. You should be happy. I am happy. You look terrified. He was, because the email had made something very clear. He'd gotten the promotion despite the rumors, not because of them. Martin had included a note at the bottom. Your work speaks for itself. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Which meant people had tried. Which meant the gossip was worse than Ethan had realized. They're going to say you gave it to me, he said. Sienna's expression hardened. Let them say it. You don't care? I care about competence. If you earned it, you earned it. Anyone who thinks otherwise can take it up with me directly. Mom, that's not how corporate politics works. I don't care how corporate politics works. Her voice was sharp now. I'm so tired of playing games, of pretending to care what people think, of making decisions based on optics instead of what's actually right. Sienna, do you know how exhausting it is? Every decision analyzed, every relationship questioned. I can't have coffee with someone without it becoming a strategic calculation. She stood abruptly, pacing the small living room. I came here because I wanted to build a science project with a kid. That's it. And now it's a scandal. It's not a scandal. It will be. The moment someone figures out I've been spending my evenings here instead of at investor dinners, it'll be everywhere. CEO abandons responsibilities for mystery man. Sienna Vale's new romance. They'll make it ugly. So what do you want to do? She stopped pacing, looked at him. I don't know. The honesty in her voice hit him harder than any corporate doublespeak could have. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Lily's voice carried from her bedroom. Dad, how do you spell pyroclastic? Ethan spelled it out loud. When he looked back at Sienna, something in her expression had softened. I should go, she said. Big day tomorrow. You're still coming, right? To the science fair? Of course, I promised Lily. And after? The question hung between them. Sienna picked up her jacket, taking too long to put it on. I don't know what happens after, she said finally. But I know I'm tired of living my entire life according to what other people expect. What do you want? She looked at him, really looked at him. I want to keep coming here. I want to help Lily with her next project. I want to eat burnt toast and argue about dinosaurs and feel like a person instead of a brand. Her voice dropped. I want something real. Ethan's heart was pounding. Then come back, he said. After the science fair. Come back and we'll figure out the rest. The gossip won't stop. I know. It'll get worse. Probably. It could damage both our careers. Maybe. But I'm tired of making decisions based on fear. Sienna smiled, a real smile, the kind that reached her eyes. "Tomorrow," she said. "We'll talk tomorrow." She left. Ethan locked the door behind her and leaned against it, trying to process everything. He'd gotten the promotion he'd worked years for. The woman he was falling for had just admitted she wanted something real with him. And tomorrow, his daughter was going to present a volcano to a gymnasium full of people. His life had gotten very complicated, and somehow he didn't mind at all. Friday arrived with the kind of nervous energy that made Ethan's hands shake while making breakfast. Lily was too excited to eat. She picked at her toast, ran through her presentation 3 more times, checked the volcano for structural integrity twice, and asked Ethan approximately 40 questions about what judges looked for in science projects. "What if they ask something I don't know?" she worried. "Then you say, 'That's a great question. Let me look into that.' What if the eruption doesn't work? We tested it 10 times. It works. What if someone else has a better volcano? Then they have a better volcano. Doesn't make yours any less incredible." She didn't look convinced. Ethan knelt down to her level. "Lil, you worked so hard on this. You researched. You built. You practiced. Whatever happens tonight, I'm proud of you." "Even if I don't win?" "Even if you don't win." She hugged him tight. "Thanks, Dad." The school gymnasium was chaos. Folding tables lined the walls, each one displaying a different project. Parents milled around with cameras. Teachers tried to maintain some semblance of order. Kids in their best clothes stood nervously beside projects ranging from basic potato batteries to elaborate ecosystems in glass tanks. Ethan helped Lily carry the volcano to their assigned table, then stepped back to let her arrange everything exactly how she wanted it. She positioned the volcano in the center, set up her presentation board with the hand-drawn diagrams explaining volcanic systems, organized her materials for the eruption demonstration. "Perfect," she announced. Other kids were already presenting to judges who moved through the room with clipboards. Ethan recognized the format. Each project would be judged individually, then winners announced at the end. "You ready?" he asked Lily. "I think so." "You've got this." A woman appeared beside their table, mid-50s, professional but warm, wearing a badge that identified her as Dr. Helen Voss from Riverport University's geology department. Lily's eyes went wide. "Good evening," Dr. Voss said. "I'm one of tonight's judges. Can you tell me about your project?" Lily took a breath, then launched into her presentation like she'd been doing this her entire life. Ethan watched his daughter explain magma composition, tectonic plate movement, and eruption mechanics to a university professor with confidence that made his chest tight. She answered every question Dr. Voss asked, demonstrated the dual vent system flawlessly, even made a joke about her first attempt exploding too quickly, which made the professor laugh. When it was over, Dr. Voss made notes on her clipboard. "Excellent work," she said. "This is one of the most sophisticated projects I've seen tonight." Lily beamed. "Thank you." Dr. Voss moved to the next table. Lily grabbed Ethan's hand and squeezed. "I did it," she whispered. "You absolutely did." "Where's Sienna?" Ethan scanned the crowd, and there she was. Standing by the gymnasium entrance, wearing jeans and a sweater, hair down, looking nothing like a CEO and everything like someone who belonged at an elementary school science fair. She caught his eye and smiled, started making her way through the crowd toward them. And that's when Ethan noticed the whispers, parents recognizing her, pointing, leaning toward each other to murmur behind their hands. A few people pulled out phones, probably Googling to confirm they were seeing what they thought they were seeing. Sienna Vale. In their gymnasium, at their science fair. Sienna either didn't notice or didn't care. She walked straight to their table and crouched down to Lily's level. "How'd it go?" "Really good. The professor said it was sophisticated." "I told you. You're brilliant." Lily threw her arms around Sienna's neck. More whispers rippled through the crowd. Ethan felt eyes on them, curious, judgmental, calculating. He didn't care. Sienna stood and moved beside him, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. "You okay?" she asked quietly. "Yeah, you?" Better than expected. They stood together, watching Lily chat with kids from her class about their projects. And Ethan realized this was the moment everything either fell apart or became real. In a room full of witnesses, Sienna Vale was choosing to stand beside him, publicly, without apology. The weight of that hit him all at once. An hour later, the principal called everyone to the center of the gymnasium for the award ceremony. Kids fidgeted, parents pressed closer with cameras ready, teachers stood along the walls trying to maintain order. Lily stood between Ethan and Sienna, bouncing on her toes with nervous energy. The principal began announcing awards. Third place for environmental science, second place for engineering, first place for biology. Then, and now for physical sciences. Third place goes to Marcus Chen for his project on solar energy. Applause. A boy walked forward to accept his ribbon. Second place goes to Emma Rodriguez for her demonstration of Newton's laws. More applause. Lily's hand found Ethan's, squeezed tight. First place for scientific accuracy and innovation goes to... The principal paused for effect. Lily Cole for her dual-vent stratovolcano model. Lily's mouth dropped open. The gymnasium erupted in applause. Ethan's eyes burned. Lily stood frozen for half a second, like she couldn't believe what she'd heard. Then she ran forward. Ethan watched his daughter accept her blue ribbon from the principal, watched her shake hands with Dr. Voss, who'd appeared on stage, watched her hold that ribbon up like it was made of solid gold. When she ran back, she was crying. Happy tears. The best kind. She crashed into Ethan first, nearly knocking him over with the force of her hug. I won, Dad! I actually won! You did, kiddo. I'm so proud of you. Then she turned and hugged Sienna just as hard. Sienna's arms came around her immediately, holding her tight. Congratulations, Sienna whispered. You deserve this. We did it together, Lily said. All three of us. Ethan saw Sienna's expression shift, saw something crack in the careful control she always maintained. She was crying too, not much, just enough to leave tear tracks on her cheeks that she wiped away quickly. But Ethan saw and understood. This wasn't just about a science project anymore. The ceremony continued, but Ethan barely heard it. He was too busy watching Lily show her ribbon to everyone who'd listen, too busy watching Sienna stand beside them like she'd always been part of their small family, too busy feeling something dangerous and wonderful bloom in his chest. After the ceremony ended, Dr. Voss approached their table again. Lily, I wanted to talk to you about something, she said. Have you ever heard of our university's summer science program? Lily shook her head. It's a 2-week intensive for elementary students interested in STEM fields. We cover everything from geology to astronomy to engineering. Dr. Voss smiled. I'd like to recommend you for next summer's session. Lily's eyes went impossibly wide. Really? Really? You clearly have a passion for science and the critical thinking skills to match. I think you'd benefit enormously from the program. Can I go, Dad? Please? Ethan's mind immediately went to logistics, cost, schedule, transportation. But he looked at his daughter's hopeful face and pushed those worries aside. We'll figure it out, he said. Is that a yes? That's a yes. Lily hugged him again, then hugged Dr. Voss, then hugged Sienna for good measure. Dr. Voss handed Ethan a brochure with program details and her business card. Feel free to contact me if you have questions, she said. Lily's a special student. I'd hate to see that potential go to waste. She moved on to other students. Ethan stared at the brochure, overwhelmed. A month ago, he'd been worried about making rent. Now his daughter had won first place and been recommended for a university science program. How had his life changed this fast? Hey! Sienna's voice was quiet. You okay? I don't know. I think so. That's a good thing. The program. Yeah, expensive, probably. We'll figure it out. He looked at her. We? She met his eyes. Yeah, we. Before Ethan could respond, Lily grabbed both their hands. Come on, Miss. Peterson wants to take a picture of the winning projects. She dragged them toward a cluster of teachers setting up a camera. They spent the next 20 minutes taking photos, congratulating other students, and fielding questions from curious parents who definitely recognized Sienna. Most were polite. A few were bold enough to ask directly, Are you really Sienna Vale? I am, she'd answer simply. What brings you to our science fair? Supporting a friend. She said it without hesitation, without apology, like it was the most natural thing in the world for a billionaire CEO to spend Friday evening at an elementary school gymnasium. By the time they finally escaped to the parking lot, Ethan was exhausted. Lily was still buzzing with energy, chattering nonstop about the program Dr. Voss had mentioned. Do you think they have real volcanoes to study? Or maybe labs with actual lava samples? Dad, can we research it when we get home? Sure, Lil. They reached Ethan's car, a 10-year-old sedan that looked even more pathetic next to Sienna's sleek black luxury vehicle parked 2 spots over. Lily climbed in the back seat, still talking. Ethan turned to Sienna. Thank you, he said, for being here, for helping with all of this. It meant everything to her. It meant everything to me, too. They stood in the parking lot while the gymnasium emptied around them, neither quite ready to say goodnight. What happens now, Ethan? Ethan asked. I don't know. Sienna looked at the school, then back at him. But I know I don't want to go back to the way things were before. Before what? Before this. Before I remembered what it feels like to care about something that isn't a quarterly earnings report. That's a low bar. She laughed. Maybe, but it's a start. Sienna, I'm scared, she admitted, of what this means, of what people will say, of screwing this up somehow. Join the club, but I'm also, she hesitated, I'm also more alive than I've been in years, and I don't want to lose that. Ethan's heart was pounding. Then don't. It's not that simple, isn't it? She looked at him like she was trying to memorize his face. My entire life has been about building something impressive, making my mark, proving I could succeed in a world that didn't think I belonged. Her voice was quiet. And then I spent 2 weeks building a volcano with a 7-year-old and realized I've never felt more successful than I did watching her win tonight. Masam. That's not a bad realization, it's a terrifying one. Because it means everything I thought mattered doesn't. And I have no idea what to do with that. From the car, Lily called out, Are we going for ice cream? We always get ice cream when I win things. Ethan looked at Sienna. You want to come? She smiled. Yeah, I really do. They went to the ice cream shop 3 blocks from Ethan's apartment, a tiny place with sticky tables and a menu written in chalk on the wall. Lily ordered a triple scoop with every topping available. Ethan got vanilla. Sienna stared at the menu like it was written in code. When was the last time you had ice cream? Ethan asked. I honestly don't remember. That's tragic. I know. She ordered chocolate. They sat at a corner table while Lily demolished her massive sundae and continued talking about the science program, barely pausing to breathe between bites. Sienna listened to every word, asked questions, laughed at Lily's increasingly elaborate ideas for future projects. Ethan watched them and felt something shift into place inside his chest, something that had been off balance his entire adult life suddenly finding equilibrium. This was what he'd been missing. Not romance, though there was definitely something building between him and Sienna that he wasn't ready to name yet. But this, sharing moments that mattered with people who actually cared, building something together instead of surviving alone. Dad? Lily's voice pulled him back. Can Sienna come over tomorrow? We should start planning my next project. You just finished this one. But Dr. Voss said I should keep challenging myself, and I have so many ideas. Ethan looked at Sienna. She was smiling. If it's okay with your dad, she said carefully. It's okay, Ethan said. Really, really. Relief flashed across her face. Then I'll be there. They finished their ice cream, walked back to the car. Lily fell asleep before they'd driven 2 blocks, her blue ribbon still clutched in one hand. Ethan pulled up to his apartment building and cut the engine. Sienna had followed in her own car and parked beside him. They got out simultaneously, stood in the quiet street under the glow of a streetlight that flickered every few seconds. I should let you get her inside, Sienna said. Yeah. Neither of them moved. Sienna, I know this is complicated. I know we're from completely different worlds. I know there are 1,000 reasons this doesn't make sense. She took a breath. But I like who I am when I'm with you and Lily, and I haven't felt that way in a really long time. Ethan stepped closer. You want to know what I think? What? I think you're overthinking this. That's what I do. I know. But here's the thing. Lily likes you. I like you. You like being here. Everything else is just noise. That noise could destroy both our careers. Maybe. Or maybe people will get over it and we'll be fine. You can't know that. You're right, I can't. He met her eyes. But I'd rather take the risk than spend the rest of my life wondering what would have happened if I'd been brave enough to try. Sienna looked at him for a long moment. Sienna looked. Then she closed the distance between them and kissed him. It wasn't dramatic, wasn't perfect. She missed slightly and caught more of his cheek than his lips on the first try, had to adjust, then kissed him properly, soft and quick and tasting like chocolate ice cream. When she pulled back, her eyes were wide. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. Ethan kissed her back, slower this time, sure. And when they finally broke apart, both of them were breathing hard. Okay, Sienna said. Okay, what's it? Okay, let's try. Let's see what happens. Let's stop being afraid and just try. Ethan smiled. Tomorrow, 4 o'clock. I'll be here. She got in her car, drove away. Ethan stood on the sidewalk for another minute, trying to process what had just happened. Then he carefully lifted Lily from the back seat, blue ribbon and all, and carried her upstairs to bed. She woke up just enough to mumble, "Best day ever, Dad." "Yeah, kiddo," he whispered back. It really was. He tucked her in, put her ribbon on her nightstand where she'd see it first thing in the morning, and went back to the living room. The volcano still sat on the kitchen table. Evidence of something built together. Evidence of something that had changed all their lives without any of them realizing it was happening. Ethan picked up his phone and sent a text to Sienna. Just 3 words. "Thank you for everything." Her response came immediately. "Thank you for letting me be part of this." Then, "See you tomorrow." Ethan smiled, set his phone down, and for the first time in years let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. Saturday morning arrived with sunshine that felt almost insulting in its cheerfulness. Ethan lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the kiss in the parking lot over and over until he wasn't sure if it had actually happened or if he'd imagined the whole thing. His phone buzzed. Text from Sienna. "Still okay for today? I can bring lunch," so it had happened. He typed back, "Yeah, come whenever." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Nervous?" Ethan stared at the question, typed, "Terrified." "You?" "Absolutely." "Good. At least we're both losing our minds." She sent back a laughing emoji, and Ethan felt some of the tension ease from his shoulders. He got up, started coffee, and found Lily already awake in the living room, her blue ribbon pinned to her pajama shirt. "Morning, champ." She looked up from the cereal she was eating dry, straight from the box. "Is Sienna coming today?" "Yeah, in a few hours." "Well, good. I have 17 ideas for new projects, and I need her help ranking them." 17? I made a list. She held up a piece of paper covered in her careful handwriting. Number 1 is about black holes. Number 2 is about the water cycle, but with real rain. Number 3 is maybe save it for when she gets here? Lily nodded seriously and went back to her cereal. Ethan made breakfast and tried not to think about how his life had completely shifted in the span of 2 weeks. Tried not to think about what Monday would bring when he went back to work with a new promotion, and everyone would definitely have seen photos from the science fair circulating online. He'd checked social media that morning, a mistake he immediately regretted. Someone had posted a picture of him, Sienna, and Lily standing together during the awards ceremony. The caption read, "Vail Tech CEO Sienna. Vail supporting local students at Riverside Elementary Science Fair." Harmless enough. But the comments were a different story. Who's the guy? Is she dating someone? That's Ethan Cole. Works at Vail Tech. Interesting. Conflict of interest much? She looks happy, though. Good for her. Can't believe she's slumming it at an elementary school. Ethan had closed the app before reading more. At 2 o'clock, Sienna texted, "Outside. Should I just come up?" "Yeah. Door's unlocked." A minute later, she walked in carrying bags from the Italian place downtown that Ethan had mentioned once in passing 3 weeks ago. She'd remembered. "I didn't know what everyone liked, so I got pasta, pizza, and salad," she said, setting everything on the counter. Lily appeared immediately. "You brought food." "I did. Hope you're hungry." "I'm always hungry." They ate lunch at the wobbly table, Lily explaining her project list in elaborate detail, while Sienna listened with the same focus she probably brought to board meetings. Black holes are the most interesting, Lily said around a mouthful of pasta, but also the hardest to demonstrate. You can't exactly make a real black hole. Not safely anyway, Sienna agreed. So I was thinking maybe a model showing how gravity wells work, with a stretched fabric and marbles? That could work, visual and interactive. But then the water cycle one is more hands-on. I could build an actual enclosed system with evaporation and condensation. Both are solid options. What does your gut say? Lily considered this seriously. Black holes. Definitely black holes. Then black holes it is. Ethan watched them talk, watched Sienna treat his 7-year-old daughter's ideas with the same respect she'd give a business proposal, and felt something warm settle in his chest. After lunch, they moved to the living room. Lily spread out her drawings while Sienna sat on the floor beside her, asking questions and offering suggestions. Ethan's phone rang. Martin Chen. He stepped into the kitchen to answer. Hey, Martin. Ethan, we need to talk. The tone made Ethan's stomach drop. About what? About the photos from last night. They're everywhere. I saw. HR wants to schedule a meeting Monday morning, 9 a.m. Why? Because, Martin sighed heavily, because the optics are problematic. You just got promoted. Sienna Vale is photographed at a school event with you and a child. People are asking questions. Let them ask. It's not that simple. It actually is that simple. I helped my daughter with a science project. Sienna helped too because she wanted to. That's the whole story. Is it? The implication hung in the air. What are you asking, Martin? I'm asking if there's anything you need to disclose, any relationship that could be seen as a conflict of interest. Ethan looked through the doorway at Sienna and Lily huddled over drawings, completely absorbed. We're friends, he said carefully. Just friends? That's what I said. Ethan, I'm not having this conversation right now. If HR wants to talk, they can talk Monday. But I'm not apologizing for having a life outside work. He hung up before Martin could respond. Stood in the kitchen trying to get his breathing under control. Sienna appeared in the doorway. That sounded intense. Work stuff. They're asking about us. It wasn't a question. Yeah, she crossed her arms. What did you tell them? That we're friends. Are we? Ethan met her eyes. I don't know. What are we? I don't know either. She glanced back at the living room where Lily was still drawing. But I know I'm not ready to stop this, whatever it is. They want me to come in Monday. HR meeting. What are you going to tell them? The truth, that you helped my daughter with a science project, that we've become friends, that there's nothing inappropriate happening. Except we kissed last night. Yeah, except that. They stood in the kitchen, the weight of reality pressing down around them. I could call them off, Sienna said quietly. One word from me and this whole thing disappears. I don't want you to do that. Why not? Because then they win. They make us feel like we did something wrong when we didn't. We're going to have to be careful. I know. People are going to talk. Let them. She studied him. You say that now, but when it affects your career, my career isn't worth more than my integrity. He stepped closer. Or my happiness. Something shifted in her expression. You make it sound easy. It's not easy, but it's simple. Either we let other people dictate our lives, or we don't. And you're choosing don't. Yeah, I am. Sienna smiled, a real smile that made her eyes bright. Okay, then so am I. From the living room, Lily called out, Are you guys coming back? I need help with the math on gravitational pull. They returned to the living room and spent the rest of the afternoon working through Lily's black hole project plan. Sienna pulled up research articles on her phone. Ethan sketched out possible designs for the demonstration model. Lily directed the whole operation with the confidence of someone who'd just won first place and wasn't about to let that go to her head at all. Around 5, Lily announced she was hungry again. I just fed you lunch 3 hours ago, Ethan said. That was 3 hours ago. Fair point. They ordered Chinese food and ate it straight from the containers, while Lily explained why Pluto was still a planet in her heart, regardless of what astronomers said. Scientists are wrong sometimes, she insisted. They used to think the Earth was flat. That was a long time ago, Sienna pointed out gently. Still counts. Can't argue with that logic. After dinner, Lily retreated to her room to work on more drawings, leaving Ethan and Sienna alone with the remnants of their takeout. She's incredible, Sienna said, watching the hallway where Lily had disappeared. She is. Gets it from her mother, probably. You don't talk about her much. Lily's mother. Not much to say. She left. Decided being a parent wasn't what she wanted. Signed papers and moved across the country. That must have been hard. It was. But also, Ethan paused, trying to find the right words. Also kind of clarifying, I realized I could either fall apart or step up. So I stepped up. You make it sound simple. It wasn't. Still isn't most days. But Lily deserves someone who shows up for her. If that someone has to be me doing the job of two parents, then that's what I'll do. Sienna was quiet for a moment. My ex-husband used to say I'd make a terrible mother, she said softly. Too ambitious, too focused on work, too selfish to put anyone else first. He was wrong. Was he? I built a company instead of a family. Prioritized quarterly earnings over relationships. Didn't even realize my marriage was falling apart until he served me divorce papers. That doesn't make you selfish. That makes you human. I'm not sure there's a difference. Ethan turned to face her fully. You spent 2 weeks helping a kid you barely knew build a science project. You showed up every single day. You listened to 40-minute explanations about volcanic systems like they were the most important thing in the world. That's not selfish. That's different. How? That's because I wanted to be here. It wasn't an obligation. Exactly. That's what makes it matter, sir. Sienna looked at him like she was trying to solve an equation that didn't have a clear answer. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. Build something real. Be part of someone's life without screwing it up. Nobody knows how to do it. We're all just figuring it out as we go. That's terrifying. Yeah, but also kind of exciting. She laughed softly. When did you become an optimist? About 3 seconds ago. Don't get used to it. They sat together in comfortable silence, the kind that only happened when people stopped trying to fill every gap with words. Then Sienna's phone rang. She glanced at it, and her entire body tensed. I have to take this. She stepped onto the small balcony off the living room, sliding the glass door mostly closed behind her. Ethan couldn't hear much, but he caught fragments. Not a good time. Marcus. None of your business. Stop calling me. Her voice rose sharply on the last part. Then silence. She came back inside looking like she'd been punched. You okay? My ex saw the photos from the science fair. And he's convinced I'm using you for some kind of publicity stunt, making myself look relatable and down to earth to repair my image after the divorce. Ethan felt anger flash hot in his chest. That's ridiculous. Is it? I'm a CEO photographed at an elementary school with a single father and his daughter. It does look calculated, except it's not. I know that. You know that. But Marcus is already planning the story with journalists he knows. By Monday, there will be articles questioning my motives. Let them question. Ethan, I'm serious. Let them write whatever they want. People who matter will see the truth. And people who don't matter control my company's stock price. She said it flatly, and Ethan realized how different their worlds actually were. His reputation affected his job. Hers affected entire market valuations. What do you want to do, Yad? He asked. I don't know. She ran her hands through her hair. Part of me wants to fight back. Issue a statement. Make it clear that my personal life is nobody's business. And the other part? The other part wants to disappear, go back to how things were before, when everything was simple and controlled and I didn't have to worry about headlines. You weren't happy then? No, but I was safe. Ethan stood and crossed to where she was standing. Safe is overrated. Easy for you to say. You don't have shareholders breathing down your neck. You're right, I don't. But I do know what it's like to be scared of making the wrong choice. He met her eyes. And I know that every time I've chosen safe over happy, I've regretted it. This isn't just about happiness. This is about my career, my company, everything I've built. I know, and I'm not asking you to sacrifice that. I'm just asking you to think about whether playing it safe is actually protecting those things or just protecting you from living your life. Sienna stared at him. When did you get so wise? I have a 7-year-old who asks me impossible questions every day. You develop philosophical frameworks fast. She laughed despite herself. Then her expression turned serious again. If we do this, it's going to get worse before it gets better. The media attention, the speculation, the rumors. I know. You could lose your job. Maybe. I could lose my company. I doubt that. You don't know what boards are capable of when they think leadership is compromised. So we're careful. We're smart. We don't give them ammunition. Just being together is ammunition. Then we make it worth it. She looked at him for a long moment, then kissed him. Harder this time, more certain. When they broke apart, she was smiling. Okay, us. Okay? Okay, let's do this. Let's stop hiding. Let's see what happens when we're actually honest about wanting to be together. You're sure? Absolutely not, but I'm doing it anyway. Ethan kissed her again, slower, savoring it. They were still kissing when Lily's voice cut through from the hallway. Ew, gross. Are you guys dating now? They jumped apart like teenagers caught by parents. Lily stood in the hallway doorway holding her black hole drawings, looking more curious than scandalized. Ethan started. Figuring things out, Sienna finished. Does that mean yes? They looked at each other. Yeah, Ethan said. I think it does. Cool. Can Sienna come to my school presentation next month? We have to present our new projects to parents. If she wants to. Lily looked at Sienna expectantly. I'd love to, Sienna said without hesitation. Good. Now can you guys stop kissing and help me with the gravity calculations? I think I messed up the math. She disappeared back into her room. Ethan and Sienna stood in the living room, stunned. That went better than expected, Sienna said. She's 7. Everything's simple when you're 7. I wish I could see the world that way again. Stick around. She'll teach you. They spent the rest of the evening helping Lily with her calculations. And if they sat a little closer than necessary, and if their hands brushed more often than coincidence would explain, neither of them mentioned it. By 9 o'clock, Lily was falling asleep over her drawings. Ethan carried her to bed while Sienna cleaned up the living room. When he came back, she was standing by the door with her jacket on. I should go. It's late. Yeah. Neither of them moved. Monday's going to be complicated, she said. Probably. Are you ready for that? No, but I'll deal with it. She stepped closer. We'll deal with it. Together. Together sounds good. She kissed him one more time, quick and sweet and full of promise. Then she left. Ethan stood in his quiet apartment, listening to the sound of her car starting outside, and tried to prepare himself for whatever Monday would bring. Sunday passed in a blur of nervous energy. Ethan cleaned the apartment twice, took Lily to the park, and checked his phone approximately every 5 minutes for texts from Sienna that came regularly but never frequently enough. How are you holding up? Fine. You? Terrified. But good terrified. Is there such a thing? With you, apparently, yes. That made him smile despite the anxiety churning in his gut. Sunday night, Lily asked the question he'd been dreading. Dad? Are people going to be weird about you and Sienna? Os. They were sitting on the couch, Lily in her pajamas, supposedly watching a nature documentary, but clearly thinking about other things. Maybe, Ethan said honestly. Some people might not understand. Why not? Because she's my boss. And usually bosses and employees don't date. That's dumb. Maybe, but it's a rule. Rules are dumb too. Sometimes. Lily was quiet for a moment, then, do you like her? Like, really like her? Yeah, Lil, I really like her. Does she make you happy? She does. Then people should be happy for you instead of weird. That would be nice, but the world doesn't always work that way. Well, it should. She leaned against him. I like her too. She listens when I talk. And she doesn't treat me like I'm little. Those are good qualities. Are you going to marry her? Ethan choked on air. What? I'm just asking. Jenny in my class says when grown-ups date, they get married. It's way too early to think about that. But eventually, Lily, I'm just saying, if you did marry her, I wouldn't be mad. She could live here and help with projects all the time. We're taking this one day at a time, okay? Okay, Lily yawned. But I think she likes us too. Yeah? Yeah, I can tell. Well, Ethan kissed the top of her head and tried not to think about how much his daughter's approval meant or how terrified he was of screwing this up. Monday morning arrived with rain and the kind of gray sky that matched Ethan's mood perfectly. He dropped Lily at school, drove to work, and sat in the parking lot for 10 minutes trying to gather courage. At 8:55, he walked into the building. Heads turned. Whispers followed him to the elevator. Someone in the break room stopped mid-sentence when he walked past. This was going to be worse than he thought. Martin was waiting outside the HR office when Ethan arrived. You ready? No, let's do this anyway. They walked in together. 3 people waited inside. The HR director, Patricia Moss, a lawyer Ethan didn't recognize, and Robert Chen, one of the board members. This was definitely worse than he thought. Mr. Cole, thank you for coming. Patricia gestured to a chair. Please sit. Ethan sat. Martin took the chair beside him. I'm sure you know why you're here, Patricia began. I have a guess. There have been concerns raised about your relationship with CEO Sienna Vale. We're friends. The photographs suggest something more than friendship. The photographs show me at my daughter's science fair with someone who helped her prepare, someone who happens to be the CEO of this company. That's not relevant to her helping with a volcano project. Robert Chen leaned forward. Mr. Cole, let's be direct. You were recently promoted. That promotion was approved by Ms. Vale. Now we're seeing evidence of a personal relationship. Surely you understand why that raises questions. My promotion was based on my performance, not my personal life. Can you prove that? Ethan felt anger flash hot. Can you prove it wasn't? The lawyer spoke up. Mr. Cole, we're not accusing you of anything. We're simply trying to understand the timeline and nature of your relationship with Ms. Vale. I met her at the charity gala 2 weeks ago. She came to my apartment to help my daughter with a science project. We became friends. That's the entire story. And the kiss? Ethan's stomach dropped. What? Patricia slid a printed photo across the table. It showed him and Sienna in the parking lot Friday night. The kiss clearly visible. Someone had been watching. Someone had photographed them. Where did you get that? Ethan demanded. Anonymous email sent to the board Saturday morning. This is harassment. This is evidence of a relationship that creates conflicts of interest. We're not... Ethan stopped, took a breath. Look, yes, we're seeing each other. It started after the promotion was already decided. There's no conflict. That's not for you to determine. Then who determines it? You? Based on an anonymous email from someone clearly trying to sabotage us? Robert's expression hardened. Your tone isn't helping. Neither is ambushing me with photographs and accusations. Mr. Cole. The conference room door opened. Sienna walked in. She wore a sharp black suit that screamed power and authority. Her hair was pulled back. Her expression was ice. I wasn't aware this meeting was scheduled, she said calmly. Patricia stood. Ms. Vale, this is a personnel matter involving me, which makes it my business. She crossed to stand beside Ethan's chair. Oh, what's the concern? There are questions about the appropriateness of your relationship with Mr. Cole given his recent promotion. My relationship with Ethan is personal and has nothing to do with his professional qualifications. The timing suggests otherwise. The timing is irrelevant. His promotion was recommended by his direct supervisor and approved by the executive committee based on objective performance metrics. I didn't influence that decision. But you could have. But I didn't. Her voice was steel. And unless you have evidence proving otherwise, this meeting is over. Ms. Veiled. Let me be very clear. Ethan Cole earned his promotion. What we do outside of work is nobody's concern unless it affects job performance, which it doesn't. She looked at each person in the room. If you have a problem with that, take it up with my lawyer. Silence. Then Robert spoke carefully. The optics are problematic. The optics are two adults choosing to spend time together. If that's problematic, the problem is with whoever's looking, not with us. No. She turned to Ethan. We're done here. They walked out together. Didn't speak until they were in the elevator. Then Ethan let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. That was intense. They had no right to ambush you like that. Someone sent them photos of us kissing. I know, I got the same anonymous email. Who would do that? Sienna's expression darkened. I have a guess. The elevator doors opened on her floor. She stepped out, then looked back at him. My office, 10 minutes. She walked away before he could respond. Ethan rode the elevator back down to his floor in a daze. 10 minutes later, he knocked on Sienna's office door. Come in. He stepped inside. She was on the phone, her voice sharp. Don't care what your editor wants, Marcus. You send that story, and I will bury you in legal action so deep you'll never see daylight again. She hung up, looked at Ethan. My ex-husband sent those photos to the board. He's also shopping a story to business journals about how I'm using you as some kind of image rehabilitation project. Can he do that? He can try, but I have better lawyers. She stood. This is going to get uglier. I know. Are you still in? Ethan crossed the office and took her hand. Yeah, I'm still in. She squeezed his hand tight. Okay, then let's fight back. Fighting back turned out to be more complicated than either of them expected. By Tuesday morning, 3 business journals had published articles questioning Sienna's judgment. The headlines were brutal and predictable. Vailtech CEO's personal life raises corporate governance concerns. Sienna Vail's relationship with employee Sparks Board investigation. Sienna Vail's relationship. Is romance clouding Vail's leadership? Ethan stopped reading after the 3rd one. He sat at his new desk. The promotion had come with an actual office, small, but his, and tried to focus on work while his phone buzzed constantly with messages from coworkers he barely knew, suddenly wanting to check in. Martin appeared in his doorway around 10. You holding up? Define holding up. Fair enough. Martin closed the door behind him. Look, I'm going to be straight with you. There's talk of reversing the promotion. Ethan's stomach dropped. On what grounds? Conflict of interest. The argument is that your relationship with Sienna compromised the decision-making process. That's garbage and you know it. I do know it. But I'm not the one making these calls. Martin sat in the chair across from Ethan's desk. The board meets Thursday. They're voting on whether to launch a formal investigation into both of you. An investigation into what? We didn't do anything wrong. You're dating your CEO. That's a violation of company policy. Yet, we started dating after the promotion. Can you prove that? Ethan opened his mouth, closed it, because he couldn't prove it. Not really. The timeline was messy. The gala had been 2 weeks ago. The promotion decision had been made around the same time, and even though nothing inappropriate had happened until after, it looked bad. This is Marcus, Ethan said. Sienna's ex. He's orchestrating this whole thing. Probably, but that doesn't change the fact that the board has legitimate concerns. So what am I supposed to do? Break up with her to save my job? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what you're up against. Martin left. Ethan sat in his new office and wondered how everything had gone sideways so fast. His phone buzzed. Sienna, can you come to my office, please? He found her standing by the window, looking out at the city below. She didn't turn when he entered. They're going to force me to choose, she said quietly. Choose what? The company or you? She finally turned to face him. The board is threatening a vote of no confidence if I don't end this relationship. They're saying my judgment is compromised, that I'm prioritizing personal feelings over corporate responsibility. That's insane. Is it? Her laugh was bitter. I promoted someone I'm now dating. I've been spending my evenings building science projects instead of attending investor dinners. I walked out of a board meeting last week because I promised Lily I'd be at her science fair. Those are good things. Not in their eyes. In their eyes, I'm a liability. Ethan crossed to where she stood. What do you want to do? I don't know. She looked exhausted. Part of me wants to fight. Tell them all to go to hell. That my personal life is my business, and if they don't like it, they can find a new CEO. And the other part is terrified. I built this company from nothing. It's my entire identity. The thought of losing it. Her voice cracked. I don't know who I am without it. Boy, you're the person who spent 2 weeks helping a kid build a volcano, who listened to 40-minute explanations about tectonic plates like they mattered, who showed up every single day because you wanted to, not because you had to. That's not enough to build a life on. Why not? She stared at him. Because it's not real. It's a fantasy, a break from reality. Eventually, we'd have to go back to the real world, and the real world is quarterly earnings and board meetings and decisions that affect thousands of people. The real world is also burnt toast and homework, and trying to fix a cabinet that won't stay closed. That's just as real as any boardroom. You don't understand. You're right. I don't understand what it's like to run a billion-dollar company, but I understand what it's like to be so focused on surviving that you forget to actually live. He took her hand. You told me you felt more successful watching Lily win that science fair than you'd felt in any corporate victory. Did you mean that? Yes. Then maybe that's what matters. Not what the board thinks. Not what Marcus is trying to destroy. What actually makes you feel alive. Sienna's eyes filled with tears. I'm so scared of making the wrong choice. There is no right choice, just the choice you can live with. What if I choose wrong? What if I lose everything? Then we figure it out together. She kissed him, hard and desperate and full of everything she couldn't say out loud. When they broke apart, she was crying. I need to think, she said. I need time to figure out what I'm willing to sacrifice, okay? Can you give me that? Time? Yeah, I can give you that. She walked him to the door, paused before opening it. Ethan? Yeah? Whatever I decide, it's not about you. It's about me trying to figure out who I want to be. I know. He left. Spent the rest of the day trying to work and failing miserably. That evening, he picked up Lily from school and tried to act normal. Failed at that too. You're quiet, Lily observed over dinner. Just thinking. About Sienna? Yeah. Is she okay? She's dealing with some stuff. Because of us? Ethan looked at his daughter. Why would you think that? Because some kids at school said their parents were talking about you and Sienna. They said it was causing problems at work. Ethan's hands tightened on his fork. What kids? It doesn't matter. Is it true? He couldn't lie to her. Yeah, some people think Sienna and I shouldn't be together because she's my boss. That's dumb. Maybe, but it's causing complications. Are you going to stop seeing her? I don't know, Lil. That's not my choice to make. Lily was quiet for a moment, then, I hope she doesn't go away. I like having her around. Me too, kiddo. She makes you smile. You don't smile enough. The observation hit Ethan harder than it should have. When did you get so observant? I pay attention. She pushed food around her plate. Mom left because she didn't want to be here. Is Sienna going to leave too? Yes. Sienna's situation is different. But she might leave. She might. But not because of you, and not because she doesn't care. Then why? But because sometimes adults have to make hard choices about their lives. And sometimes those choices mean walking away from things they care about. That's stupid. Yeah, it really is. They finished dinner in silence. Ethan tucked Lily into bed and sat in the living room staring at his phone, waiting for a text that didn't come. Wednesday passed in a fog of anxiety. No word from Sienna. No updates on the board situation. Just silence and speculation, and Ethan trying to do his job while his entire world felt like it was falling apart. Thursday morning, he woke to a text from Martin. Board meeting today, 2 p.m. Results will be announced after. Ethan spent the morning unable to focus on anything. At 1:30, his phone rang. Sienna. Hey, he answered. Can you meet me before the board meeting? Where? What? The courtyard, where we first talked. Ethan left work early and drove to the hotel. Found the maintenance courtyard, still ugly, still smelling like grease and cigarettes, and waited. Sienna appeared 5 minutes later. She looked different, tired, but also somehow lighter, like she'd set down something heavy. "I made a decision," she said. Ethan's heart pounded. "Okay." "I'm stepping down as CEO." The words hit him like cold water. "What?" "Not immediately. I'll stay through the transition, help find my replacement, but I'm done." She took a breath. "I've spent 10 years building that company, 10 years sacrificing everything for quarterly growth and market share and proving I belonged in rooms that didn't want me there. And somewhere along the way, I forgot why I started. I forgot what success was supposed to feel like." "Sienna." "Let me finish." She stepped closer. "Watching Lily win that science fair, I felt something I haven't felt in years. Pride that wasn't tied to profit margins. Joy that didn't come with a price tag. Connection that wasn't transactional." Her voice softened, and I realized I don't want to be the person who chooses boardrooms over bedtime stories. I don't want to wake up in 20 years and realize I spent my entire life building something impressive instead of building something real. You don't have to choose. We can figure out how to make both work. No, we can't. Not with this board. Not with Marcus sabotaging everything. Not with the constant pressure to be perfect. She took his hands. "But I can choose what matters, and you matter. Lily matters. The life we're building together matters more than any company ever could." Ethan's throat was tight. "Are you sure?" "Terrified, but sure." "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet. Maybe consulting. Maybe something completely different. Maybe I'll go back to school and get a degree in geology so I can properly help with Lily's next project." She smiled. "But whatever I do, I want to do it without constantly looking over my shoulder, without sacrificing my life for other people's expectations. The board's going to lose their minds. Let them. I'm done performing for people who only see me as an asset to manage." She kissed him, slow and certain, and Ethan kissed her back, tasting salt from tears he wasn't sure belonged to her or him. When they broke apart, Sienna checked her watch. "I have to go. Board meeting in 20 minutes. "You want me to come with you?" "No, this is something I need to do alone." She squeezed his hand. "But meet me after? Your place? I want to tell Lily together." "Yeah, okay." She left. Ethan stood in the courtyard for a long time, trying to process everything. Sienna Vale was walking away from a billion-dollar company. For him, for Lily, for a chance at something real. The weight of that was staggering. He drove home in a daze. At 4 o'clock, Sienna knocked on his door. She looked lighter than he'd ever seen her, like she'd been carrying a boulder and finally set it down. "How'd it go?" Ethan asked. "About as well as expected. Shock, anger, threats of legal action that won't go anywhere. Robert Chen called me irresponsible. Patricia looked like I'd personally betrayed her." Sienna smiled. "It was incredibly freeing." "You really did it." "I really did." Lily appeared from her room. "Sienna, you're here!" "Hey, Lily." Sienna crouched down. "Can we talk? All three of us?" They sat on the couch, Lily between them, sensing something important was happening. "I need to tell you something," Sienna said carefully. "I'm leaving my job. I won't be CEO anymore." Lily's eyes went wide. "Why?" "Because I realized being a CEO was taking up all my time and energy, and I want to spend that time and energy on things that actually matter to me." "Like what?" "Like helping you with science projects, like spending time with your dad, like being part of a family instead of just running a company." Lily was quiet for a moment, processing. Then, "Does that mean you'll have more time to come over?" Sienna laughed. "Yeah, a lot more time." "Good, because I have 3 more project ideas and I need help with all of them. I'm available." Lily hugged her. Just like that, in the simple way kids accepted things, it was settled. Ethan watched them and felt something shift into place inside his chest. Something that had been broken for years finally healing. Later that night, after Lily was asleep, Ethan and Sienna sat on the balcony looking out at the city lights. "Are you scared?" he asked. "Terrified," she admitted. I don't know who I am without that company. I've defined myself by it for so long. So figure it out. You have time now. What if I made a mistake? What if I regret this? Then you'll deal with it, but I don't think you will. How can you be sure? Because I've watched you over the past 2 weeks, and the person who showed up at my apartment to build a volcano? That person was more alive than any CEO I've ever seen in a boardroom. Sienna leaned against him. I've never done this before. Just existed without a 5-year plan and quarterly targets. Welcome to how the rest of us live. It's terrifying. Yeah, but also kind of amazing. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city breathe below them. What happens now? Sienna asked finally. I don't know. We figure it out as we go. That's not very reassuring. No, but it's honest. She smiled. I can work with honest. The next few weeks were chaotic. Sienna's resignation made headlines. Business journals analyzed her decision. Former colleagues called it career suicide. Her replacement was announced. Someone internal, someone safe, someone who wouldn't rock the boat. Marcus tried to claim victory in a leaked statement, suggesting Sienna had cracked under pressure. She ignored him. Instead, she showed up at Ethan's apartment every afternoon and helped Lily research black holes. She learned to cook, badly, but with enthusiasm. She started sleeping past 6 a.m. for the first time in a decade. She bought jeans that weren't designer and sneakers that were actually comfortable. She started becoming a person instead of a position. Ethan got to keep his promotion after all. With Sienna gone, the conflict of interest disappeared. The board moved on to other concerns. The gossip faded to background noise. Work became just work again, which meant Ethan had energy left over for his actual life. One Saturday morning, 6 weeks after the science fair, Ethan woke to find Sienna already awake. Sitting at the kitchen table with Lily, both of them hunched over a massive poster board covered in diagrams about gravitational fields. You're up early, he said, starting coffee. Lily had a breakthrough about the demonstration model, Sienna explained without looking up. We're redesigning the whole structure. It's going to be way better now, Lily added. More interactive. Good. I have no idea what you're talking about, but good. They worked on the project all morning while Ethan made breakfast and pretended to understand the physics they were discussing. Around noon, Lily announced she was going to her friend's house to work on a different project. Ethan drove her over, and when he got back, Sienna was still at the table, now surrounded by research papers she'd printed out. You know you don't have to do all this, right? Ethan said. I want to. This is fascinating. It's a 4th-grade science project. Oh, it's a chance to learn something new without worrying about how it affects stock prices. She looked up at him. Do you know how long it's been since I learned something just because I wanted to? Not because it was strategic or necessary, but just because it interested me. How long? I honestly can't remember. Ethan sat beside her. Any regrets? About leaving? Oh, some days. I miss the adrenaline, the feeling of closing a major deal or solving an impossible problem. She paused. But mostly, I don't miss the constant pressure. The feeling that one wrong move could destroy everything. The loneliness of being the person everyone looks to, but nobody actually sees. And now I'm a person helping a kid understand physics. And somehow that feels more important than any board meeting I ever sat through. That's a hell of a perspective shift, and yeah, it is. She leaned her head on his shoulder. They sat like that for a while, comfortable in the silence. Then Sienna said quietly, I think I'm happy. Actually happy. For the first time in longer than I can remember. Yeah? Yeah. She lifted her head to look at him. Is that okay? To just be happy without it being complicated? More than okay. She kissed him, soft and sweet and full of certainty. I love you, she said. I know it's only been a few weeks and that's probably too fast and completely impractical, but I love you. And I love Lily. And I love this chaotic, messy, completely unplanned life we're building. Ethan's heart felt too big for his chest. I love you too. Really? Really? She smiled. That genuine, unguarded smile he'd first seen in a hotel courtyard when she'd finally stopped pretending. So what do we do now? She asked. We keep building, projects and breakfast and whatever comes next. That's it? That's it? Sounds simple. Simple's underrated. They spent the rest of the afternoon working on Lily's project together, and if they stopped occasionally to kiss or just sit close to each other, nobody was there to judge. 3 months later, Lily presented her black hole project at the school's science symposium. She won first place again. Dr. Voss personally congratulated her and confirmed her acceptance into the summer program. Ethan watched his daughter accept another blue ribbon and felt pride so intense it almost hurt. Sienna stood beside him, her hand in his, looking just as proud. "We did good," she said quietly. "She did good. We just helped." Still counts. After the ceremony, they took Lily out for ice cream, a tradition now apparently. Lily talked nonstop about the summer program, about all the things she'd learned, about how she wanted to be an astrophysicist when she grew up. Sienna listened with the same attention she'd once brought to investor pitches. And Ethan realized something. This was success, not the promotion or the headlines or the billion-dollar company. This, right here, a family that chose each other, a daughter who felt supported enough to dream big, a partner who showed up not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Simple moments that added up to a life worth living. That night, after Lily was asleep, Ethan and Sienna sat on the balcony like they did most nights now. "You ever miss it?" Ethan asked. "The power, the prestige, being Sienna Vale, CEO. Sometimes," she admitted, "I miss feeling important, making decisions that mattered." Your decisions still matter. Helping a kid with a science project isn't exactly changing the world. Isn't it? Ethan looked at her. You're teaching Lily that adults show up, that promises matter, that success isn't just about money or power. You're changing her world. That seems pretty important to me. Sienna was quiet for a moment. Brian, Sienna was, then, when I was CEO, I thought I was building a legacy, something that would outlast me, something that proved I mattered. She took his hand, but watching Lily grow, seeing how she lights up when she understands something new, knowing I helped with that feels like a legacy too, maybe a better one. Better than $1 billion company? Different, more personal, more real. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Sienna said, I've been thinking about going back to school, getting a degree in education, maybe teaching science to kids who don't think they're smart enough. You'd be incredible at that. You think? I know. She smiled. It's a weird career pivot, CEO to elementary school teacher. The best pivots usually are. What about you? Any big plans? Just keep doing what I'm doing, raise my daughter, love you, try not to burn dinner too often. Those are good plans. Simple ones. Well, simple's good. They went inside, checked on Lily, still sleeping peacefully, blue ribbon on her nightstand next to the first one. Ethan stood in the doorway watching his daughter and felt his chest tighten with gratitude. For the second chances, for the unexpected moments, for the woman beside him who'd chosen messy and real over impressive and empty. Sienna wrapped her arms around him from behind. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For refusing to kiss me that night, for not taking advantage when you could have, for showing me what real looks like. Thank you for showing up, for staying, for choosing this. I'd choose it every time. They stood together in the doorway, watching Lily sleep, and Ethan realized something important. Life wasn't about perfect moments or grand gestures or impressive achievements. It was about this. Quiet evenings and small victories and people who showed up when it mattered. It was about building something real with people who saw you, actually saw you, and chose to stay anyway. It was about second chances and messy families and love that wasn't convenient but was completely, utterly worth it. Sienna had walked away from everything impressive to build something real. Ethan had risked everything stable to choose happiness over safety. And together, they'd created something neither of them had known they were looking for. A family. Not perfect, not impressive, just real. And that, Ethan thought as he pulled Sienna close and kissed her goodnight, was the best kind of success there was. Because at the end of the day, nobody remembered the quarterly earnings or the headlines or the boardroom victories. They remembered who showed up, who stayed, who chose love over fear. And in a world that constantly pressured people to choose power over connection, profit over people, and impressive over authentic, Choosing real was the bravest thing anyone could do. Sienna had chosen real. Ethan had chosen real. And Lily was growing up watching two adults prove that success wasn't about how much you achieved, but about who you became and who you loved along the way. That was the legacy that mattered. That was the story worth telling. Not the fairy tale of perfection, but the messy, beautiful reality of people choosing each other every single day. And as Ethan turned off the lights and headed to bed with the woman he loved, his daughter safe asleep down the hall, he knew with absolute certainty that he'd made the right choice. They both had. And whatever came next, they'd figure it out together. One burnt breakfast, one science project, one quiet evening at a time. Building something real, something that mattered, something worth everything they'd risk to find it.